All right, let's take a look at that. So this is first lap hot lap, just more grip on first lap than second lap. So this is a tough run up because the top line at Michigan is not exactly the most friendly. A lot of bumps, a lot of wall jutting out in weird places. So if you don't want to run right by the wall, you're not going to miss out on too much speed, but it will cost you maybe half a tenth or so. So if you want to run the wall, I let out to about half right as I'm entering the corner, and I hold that until I make sure that my car is not sliding up anymore. And then I easily put back in throttle until I am able to just drive back down the track. So, excuse me. Making sure that I'm not right by the wall and exit, because if you're like literally on the wall right here, you're probably going to get magneted into it off the corner. So you want to be at least a little bit farther down and trying to open up your wheel as early as possible. Okay. Pretty difficult, but it's kind of like a rodeo almost. Yeah. So don't go down to the apron there, no real need to. Going into turn 1 here, we are not going to be running the top for our hot lap. We're going to be going to the second lane. So right as I pass this green light just about, I start turning down the hill, but I don't start letting go of my throttle until I'm about already lane down. And I smoothly let go of my throttle from 100% down to 50. I hold that 50 until I get to the seam. Then once I'm at the seam, I wait until it sticks to the seam. And once I feel like it's stuck to the seam, I start raising my throttle smoothly and letting it slide back up the track. You don't want to put in your throttle too early because you'll slide up the track too quickly. You just want to be patient. So half throttle, pretty much steady. Use as much wheel as you need to stick the seam. Then once you feel like you're stuck to the seam, then you just slowly start raising the throttle. You might be doing it a little bit too early at first, just because it's easy to get on the throttle a little early. So just keep that in mind. And then you try to keep the car as straight as possible and exit. All right, in turn 3 and 4, same idea. Around, I don't even know what to call that, but we start turning down the hill, about a lane down, we back off the throttle to half, and then half throttle, we hold that and stick it to the seam. Stick it, don't want to get full throttle too early, and then get on the throttle towards the exit, let the car slide up. It might take a little bit of practice to find that timing of where you can throttle up and not hit the wall, but find your limits. It's a lot of people will wait too long, and a lot of people won't wait long enough. If you wait too long, then you're going to have no momentum off the corner. If you don't wait long enough, then you're going to hit the wall. So just find the earliest that you can do it without hitting the wall. But until then, you use your steering wheel to stick the seam, and you just hold half throttle. And then, okay, so let's see. I picked up my throttle around the Michigan USA sign, it looks like. So full throttle about around right there. You should be able to get a little bit loose as you saw there, but it should be able to just slide up the track and stay off the wall on its own. With a little bit of help of the wheel, of course, but you know what I mean. All right. So not the craziest hot lap, just the same throttle technique for each time. Just start turning and don't let off the throttle until you're already a lane down. And then stick it to the seam. All right, let's take a look at long run. All right, let's talk about long run. So Michigan is going to be one of those places where you really will feel that dynamic track come into play. The oval refresh, all that good stuff. So the different lines that you'll be running, the main one that you want to be running until it completely heats up is that same line that we were doing in qualifying, that second line from the bottom. That's more or less the bottom. You don't want to go really any lower than that in this car. And what you want to do is you want to enter the corners a little earlier than I was doing in qualifying. You just want to keep the car snug as you can on that. This car tends to be a little bit loose, so you don't have to drive with the intention of like mega saving your right front, because the right rear is probably going to be the tire that goes like this. But you just kind of want to meet that seam. You want to kind of stick to it as long as you can. And this is going to be the line that preserves both the tires, fronts and rears. A lot of people are going to be tempted to use the top at some point. Probably not at the beginning of the run. It's pretty slow at the beginning of the run, but towards the middle and the end, it'll definitely have some fans. But in a setup like this, from what I've noticed is that in these Xfinity cars, when you have a setup that's a little bit loose, not quite as tight as some of the other ones are, the top line really destroys rear tire. So I would save the top line to to be something that you use in special situations to pass, to defend. If you make it your normal line, you're going to really heat up your right rear tire, in my opinion. Other lines you can use, well, let's actually go over the topic real quick. So how you want to run the top is you want to let off a little earlier than you think, so that you give it a little bit up on entry so that you don't slide up and hit the wall. Yeah, this is way too early in the run to be running top. It's just not clearly not good enough yet, but I'm pretty sure late in the run, top becomes pretty good. But the whole point is you really never want your car sliding up the hill. The one way you can avoid ever hitting the wall is if you're never moving towards the wall. But as you can see right now, it's pretty darn slow. So beginning of the run, you'll run second to bottom. There's this middle line as well that you can run. That's completely fine up here. It's more or less the same as the bottom. You'll probably wear a little bit more tire. Yeah, you see that the top doesn't even get really a run right now. It's going to be when the tires are really worn off. And then the bottom I just don't think works. I actually feel quite a bit of right front trying to get to the bottom there. But you'll see the hardest parts of these entries with the new, the hardest part of the new dynamic track is finding where there's grip on entry. So you might want to have to search for grip on entry and then just kind of drive the rest of the corner. Survival almost. So you kind of modify your lines after you found a line that gives you grip on entry. So like what happens a lot in these cars is you'll have to set up a lot wider than you usually used to set up, and you kind of end up doing a wider arc down to here. And then people start using that wider arc more, and then that heats up, and then you kind of go back to the bottom. So really varying up how you enter the corners, even if you're trying to do the same thing each time, is how you're going to be able to move around with this dynamic track. Even up here, if I can run this like pseudo top line, which is a little bit too tight, or not enough grip. So I don't know if the top is ever going to get like really good, but it might towards the end. But definitely for the beginning of your runs, saving tires, saving lap time too. That bottom, second to the bottom line is going to be where you want to be, and just be mindful about how your entries are heating up, the grip that you have with them. So yeah, so a little bit more right rear than right front, but still not too bad. All right, thank you all for watching. Hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you all on the track.